So how do I pronounce your name?
Master Anubis?
Master Anubis.
Yes.
Master Anubis. Where are you from originally? Where are you from?
It is in Europe. It's in Spain.
Spain.
Yes.
Okay. Might be better to do this without the mask if we can. Are you open to doing that? Let's see how it goes here.
Yeah.
Tell me about your family growing up.
Growing up, that's a bag of. Yeah. So, as far as I remember, my family did have a Catholic background, but then they got caught into a cult, which is Mormonism, and that's how I grew up. Very Mormon oriented, and then my parents got split, and then ended up bouncing between Italy and Spain for easily a decade. And so when custody is a little bit one-sided, that's kind of what happens. And then as I got older, my mom left Europe and now here to America, and that's when I was 14 is when.
You came to the U.S. at 14?
Yes.
To Los Angeles? Or?
Yes.
And where was your father?
My father was, it's hard, I don't know. I think he was working, trying to figure out his life while I was with my mother. And then when I was with him, when he happened to take advantage of custody, he would be somewhere else. But I mainly would spend time with our grandparents growing up too.
So your father wasn't a big part of your life?
Not too much, no.
What kind of how would you describe your childhood?
Kind of a chaotic, but at least learned a lot of the ropes. I had to understand that that's what life was. I'm here, and then before you know it, you're gonna be over here. And then you're gonna get settled with your friends in one country, and then you're gonna be in a different one. And you never knew when that happened. When it happened, you had to just do it.
A lot of turmoil.
Yeah.
You finished high school?
Yeah.
What were you like in high school?
In high school, I was very secluded. My mentality, again, this has to do with the ideals of Mormonism, that their kids are bad for you. They are vulgar. They are too worldly. I guess that was the term. So they do drugs and they drink and they have wild sex, and you're not supposed to be doing any of that.
And after high school, you did what?
So after high school, what did I do after high school? I went to college, but then they have you do the Mormon tour, which is they send the guys, well, the women too, but mostly it's the men, to some place for 2 years. You live out of 2 suitcases. You have to pay for it yourself. And what you're doing is collecting more members of that church so they can pay their duly contribution to the church. That's basically the model. You dress up very conservative and you walk with your shirt, and like the musical they have in Broadway now, I think it's the Book of Mormon musical, you look just like that. But they send you to all over the world. In my case, I got sent to Salt Lake City, which is really ironic, but that's where I went. And that's what I did before I went to back to college, and I ended up going to I still don't know how this happened, because I really meant not to happen. I ended up with the Mormon University, which is BYU in Utah. They sent me a letter, and I was in. I'm like, oh great, I don't want to go there. But my uncle got involved. He basically speeded the papers that I didn't know that he had done it, and before I knew it, I was there.
So you were trying to get away from the Mormon?
I was trying to get away from Utah. I had been already there too long. And I went back to it for college, and that's what happened.
And then since you've been out of school, what kind of things you're working? I take it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You have a job, but
yeah, my field is in the internet marketing.
But you have an interesting fetish, it looks like.
I do. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So, I ended up exploring the internet, and not so much in the places where I was forbidden to go, because I was very active still in Mormonism at this point. But what I did do is I played with this video game. It's called Second Life. And then this, actually, some would argue it's not a video game, but it is a virtual universe where you can experiment and basically become and experience life and different things. I'm just plugging along doing my thing, and I met this woman there who dressed a little bit like me, and she claimed she was a slave. And I'm like, what does that mean? So she educated me on that. She explained me a lot of things, and I got a lot of the education in what is the let's call it the healthy BDSM universe. Meaning, and I do mean by healthy is that we have models of consent, respect, and trust. And upon those three things, everything else in BDSM is built. So as that's where I learned a lot of that, and I got into that while I was kind of experimenting things on the virtual world, but that was not enough. I went full in because in that virtual reality, you become effectively something else when you join in, which is what led to this. Right away, I immersed myself in my identity here and that I have now as Master Anubis. And when that was not enough, then I just jump in here in the local area, and that's taken me throughout California, throughout Europe, through Canada, and so far, I think that's all the places I've been, where I meet this community that understands the same thing that I like, and pretty much focusing on this thing, which is fetishism. And
what is it that you like? Because the outfit is unusual for a person that's into.
Let's talk about this. The fetishism revolves around the one thing that causes some kind of arousal. In this case, is latex. Latex has a smell. It has a texture. It's a kind of a huggy. It does things to your skin where you feel this kind of a weird looking, like a hug, so to speak. It's shiny and it complements your body. So women especially like that because it really is. It makes those curves look really nice, which I happen to like a lot too. And that's where my fetishism comes in, mainly in seeing the female form adopt this kind of material and looks gorgeous, hot, and amazing. But then again, I also like it because it is kind of what I get in. And I have to say, when I do go to an event, when I do go to even now, just a degree of excitement as you put the outfit, as you putting things together. It's always a thrill. I don't know what kind of endorphins that is exactly, but it's a thrill thing to experience, and especially coming to the party, walking in, and then be sort of the object of attention, and then that leads to the other aspects of BDSM that we can talk later if you wanna go over those things.
And so you go to parties.
Oh yeah.
And you'll be dressed.
Oh yeah.
In this costume, and you will eventually lead to some kind of interaction. The I'm not sure that I always go with that plan, but usually that's what happened. I don't. There's men go to this place or to these parties or to these events in three different ways. There's the business suit, which I hate because I already did the Mormonism. I'm up to here, we're wearing a suit. Two, casual jeans and t-shirt. I think it's kind of lame. And then something like this. If I were to go to an event, any of those two ways, I forget it. It's pointless to me. This fetishism or this outfit or this sort of style is the only way I go. It's the only way that to me becomes value to experience. And yeah, again, once I get there, I do get surrounded by people. I do get photographed a lot. I do get people ask me questions, usually 2 or 3, and then run away because they don't know what else to do with me. they usually get the compliment, "You look great." "Oh, thank you." And then they get nothing else and they go away. And given that the environment is loud and everything, they may not hear if I say something else because when I do wear this, which is one of my go-to helmets, I definitely stand out, but they may not hear me. They may not understand me. So that's the other thing that does happen sometimes. And this costume enhances your whole sexual experience?
Yeah. So once again, is the thrill assignment dressing up, and then the personification, and then getting a new identity that I can really have no boundaries. Once again, when you have grown up in a world of Mormonism, there are things that I'm still processing. There are things that I'm still trying to escape and let go of. And becoming this, I don't have to worry about that. I can just chuck that out and it doesn't exist for me. So it allows me again to free my mind, and that's one of the things that I particularly do in this in the scene. There's people in BDSM that are needle players. I mean, they use needles on people. They like that. I don't get it, but they do. They pour hot wax on the people. They like that. That wouldn't work on me, obviously. Electricity, spanking. I do have a flogger here because I do have some people that like a flogger. I can do it too. But my thing, the thing that I do, the thing that I pride myself on is psychological play, is getting in someone's head and do things in there. And again, back to rules of consent, trust, and healthy BDSM. I go in there and do things that causes arousal and reaction on people, and seeing that or being part of that is what causes me the same reaction.
I would think wearing the mask and the whole costume, which is makes you anonymous.
Yes.
You're like a mystery man, and
yes,
I'm sure that's arousing for some women.
Yes, and this is again part of that identity, and I don't. There's very few people who know me when I don't have this on. Only the people that I've when we go to events for multiple days and I don't wear this 24/7, like you stay in a hotel, like, well, obviously there's some people that are going to recognize me, and those people that see my badge are like, oh, it's you. No, it's not. But those people I don't get to fool any longer. So yeah.
And when the sexual act finally happens, you are still in costume, or you're naked like most of.
Well, that depends what you mean by the sexual act. There is some argument about back to BDSM and being one thing and sex being something else. If I just were to explain the difference between the two, BDSM includes things like bondage, includes things like masochism, includes things like discipline, humiliation, those things like that. That acronym wasn't correct, but it includes those specific things. They can be done, and it may not include penetration. Sex is sex. That we all know what that is. But there's a really weird area where they can come together, but the problem is that some people make those two things join without, back to what I said, consent, trust, and respect, and that's where it goes bad. So the things that cause people arousals don't need to lead specifically to say penetration, for example, or touching anyone's private parts. I know I've had people that I use this on, and it causes a very arousal reaction, and I didn't touch anything here or on the breast or nothing, and they find it. And then I've had to almost pick them up and put them on my sofa because they were so overcharged with endorphins that they have to take a break. They have to get some water. They have to recover, and that's the funny thing about what is classified as sexual experience and the other one again, which is just sex. So again, depends which one do you mean.
It's an interesting world, isn't it?
It's getting very, very fascinating. Again, back to what I was saying before, understanding the mind, understanding the brain, what makes people tick, what makes people respond to things. Sometimes it's words, sometimes it's action, sometimes it's the combination, how you say things. All of that can have an effect if you know how to get in someone's head and do things. And other times it's the effect of the equipment. Again, back to this vlogger, that they know what makes them tick. They know how to respond to things. They may say to me, I like it when you do it like this. I like it here, but not here. Do it harder, do it less. I like it. And then that communication is what I can amplify the experience. And in effect, it's funny to think about it, but we all did, growing up, did things that we didn't really make any funny connections when we play superhero. This is kind of a adult version of superhero, and I still play, but it's a different kind of play. I don't throw my rope and climb into a building, but I am dressed up, and I may have someone tied up, and I may give a slight choke. That's a different kind of play. Yet in a superhero persona, so to speak. We played tag. You know, you touch one person, and the other person runs, and it's having an authority over the other person, which is kind of what domination is. And so we all grew up playing things. We just now got older, and we are kind of using the same parts of our brain, but amplifying or changing the way we play. But essentially, we've been doing our whole lives.
I would think communication, again, is key in these relationships.
Absolutely. I cannot say that enough. Communication is so important. Otherwise, it turns into misunderstandings. It can lead to abuse. So I do have thorough interviews with whoever I'm participating, because no one wants to have that done, and I don't want to do that to anybody.
I would think when you're at a get-together, women will see you and they'll know right away whether they're interested or not, because you're just so unusual from everyone else there.
It's funny. So I get a few kinds of reactions. There's people there's women, they see me and come right at me, and they want to touch me, they want to put their hands on me, and they can't stop. There's other people that want to see me, that stare at me, and they want to skip the touching and going to do things to me. And then there's other ones that think I'm scary, and so they stand back, but they can't stop staring. So it goes all over the place.
Was there something in your childhood that you think maybe led to this?
Yes, I figured this out years ago. I don't remember. I'm gonna say it was before the divorce, so it had to be between 6 and 7. The 1980s Spider-Man was big, the cartoons especially. Was still big, but the cartoons were it hadn't exploded like with the Marvel Universe or whatever. But I do know that I was watching cartoons, and I was just like running down the hallway going all over the place. And my mom had this fabric, and she threw it in my face, and wrapped it on my face and my head, and then tied it up, kind of tight, but it tight enough so it wouldn't move, so I can go play and do my thing. And so I'm just having a good time, throwing my imaginary web all over the hallway. But I do know, and I remember what it felt to have that thing on my head, on my neck, on my face, and being the sort of what basically as tight as have this thing I have on my head right now, and have the kind of same sensation, and being again back to superhero. So I definitely think it's a good link between that particular day or that evening to waking up all of this into fetishism.
Does what a lot of people call vanilla sex even appeal to you?
I guess I could do vanilla a little bit, but vanilla all the time, no. And I do, and there's extremes between the two. I mean, there's extreme vanilla and there's extreme, let's call it kinky sex. And when it gets into the extreme of kinky sex, I think it becomes rough sex. But I think for me, kind of the middle ground where it becomes more interesting is back to what I said before, getting another identity, or let's call it role play. That role play can lead into other things, and just experiment a little bit with toys, but not in a way it becomes, say, violent or rough sex. That's my extreme where I don't play. And again, here on the vanilla, on the left, on the far on this side, okay, a little bit, but that's gonna get boring.
How extreme does your BDSM?
I'm not that extreme. I mean, as I mentioned before, there are people who are stabbing needles, and they're doing. I had a friend in Spain that she actually injects a solution that causes a kind of euphoria. It's exactly what a nurse would do, and she knows exactly the amount to put in, and the way that she's drugging you apparently is safe. I don't know all the details. I never asked her this, but that's kind of on a far end, as well as with fire, with poking things. Mine is very basic on what we call impact play, which is what I'm holding here in my hand, and And again, back to psychological play. And I think that would be a little bit on the extreme. And I do say that because there are people who I cannot participate on that activity. I can figure out, all right, we have a little bit of, there's some things here that you have not handled your own. You have not solved these issues. I cannot wake up or pick up any triggers because it would be a bad idea. And there's people that cannot engage in those activities because it would not be healthy. There's people who have a little bit more of a healthy, and not that we're not unhealthy, but someone who's worked through their issues, then yeah, we can do that. But there's people who, we all have some kind of trauma. I mean, I mentioned mine. We all have some kind of baggage that we are either dealing with, we haven't looked into, and we're ignoring, or is effectively causing us some problems. Being able to participate with those people is always good, just be careful. And that's basically my philosophy.
Do you think all fetishes stem from some kind of trauma they went through as a kid?
That would be a question for a psychologist, if I don't have that degree. But I do know that usually those come through something that does get waken up. Now trauma, and like I mentioned, my thing, what led me to this is not, I don't think it's trauma.
Yeah, not necessarily trauma, but something they went through as a child.
Yeah, of course. Oh, if that's what you mean, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Everything that we are made of that keeps manifested is something that we have here, that one way or another we're trying to recover, we're trying to bring back up, we're trying to enjoy again. We just haven't found the means to do it. And there's so many vanilla people, and I do mean back to when I went to school in Utah, that there's so many things that are suppressed that they are not allowed to explore, understand, and they just boxed into this universe that they haven't even figured out who they are, let alone what are all these things that excite them, that make them have joy. They're very, very limited. So again, when I'm reached out by them, I do help them to find more joy in life with those things. People who are sort of stepping away, like, man, I'm gonna call, help me, and that's sort of what I'm doing.
How did the cult, that you call it, that you came from, affect this part of your life?
That is, do I want to get into that? I suppose you can edit it, but there is, Mormonism does have a part of it that does claim Egyptian origins, specifically origins that have to do with funerals and the way that the people were in Egypt died and they were transitioned into the afterlife. The founder of the religion claimed to have found writings, or let's call it papyrus, that came from Abraham, and now he's saying that Abraham wrote this, and now I'm the prophet, I'm going to give it to you. That's essentially what he did. That's a lie. I looked at those papyrus, I look at those hieroglyphics, and they have nothing to do with that. They're more about the transition between the dead and the next life. And who participate in that? I do. The role of Anubis is, he is the channel to transition from the living to a safe path to the afterlife, join with Osiris. That's what Anubis does. So when I saw the papyrus and saw how it was doctored, like the personage who is supposed to make that transition, they took out Anubis out of there. They edited that. They took him out of the papyrus and put some guy with a machete, and that's not correct. That's not accurate. So in effect, me becoming Anubis in my study about Egyptology, because I didn't just want to dress up, I wanted to understand it, I wanted to really embrace it. When I figured that out and I looked at that from what I had studied, I'm like, this is wrong and this is a lie. This papyrus should have Anubis, not whatever this is. The whole thing is a fraud. The whole thing is a bloody lie. So if to answer your question, understanding this or becoming this really put me in a position to fracture the whole religion and expose the lie that I was living or that I had. And in effect, in a way, Anubis saved me from keep drinking the Kool-Aid.
Master Anubis, what would you say is the most important thing you've learned from your adventures as a BDSM fetishist?
Many things, but I'm going to say the thing is the most value. The most value is acceptance. The most value is don't see people from who you have been told that they are. See people who they are. We live in a very polarized world. Politics, I'm not getting into, but you know what I mean by that. That we have to have certain stigmas about people and whatever. But in this experience that I've been having, I have met people that are all kinds of things, and I don't get to judge them. I'm not supposed to. I did that before, and it wasn't a good thing to be doing. Everyone is trying to achieve a degree of happiness. If they catch it, great. But in the struggle to get there, the last thing they need is someone saying, you are not doing your life correctly. You are not living your life the way that I think you should be living. Nobody needs that. If any, they need encouragement to explore more, which is back to what I said before that I'm doing. But accepting people for the journey they are trying to figure out, or that they're journeying through, is probably the thing of most value, because again, acceptance opens all kinds of doors, opens all kinds of avenues for, and essentially is love. If you get that, if you figure that out, and you can be open-minded and be good to everybody, they'll trust you, and your universe changes too. So it's a win-win on that. But again, this world of BDSM, you do enjoy the company of many different kinky people with many different things that trigger them to be kinky in a universality of ways, and they are what they are, and that's fine, because that's their life, and I just get to enjoy what they learn from them. And maybe they're learning from me, I'm not sure about that, but coming from where I have come from is vastly different to accept as opposed to judge.
All right. Master Anubis, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Very interesting lifestyle you lead. Thank you.